So suicide loss and loss from suicide is radically different from normal grief. And this is because it wreaks havoc on our entire being, on our mind, on our body, on our heart, on our psyche. It causes annihilation and destruction for survivors. It upends our identity and our life course, causes us to question reality and all that we believe, and to question ourselves on so many fundamental levels. It literally rips the rug out from beneath us, and we are left feeling in free fall. This is very disruptive. It literally shakes that rug, and everything in our life becomes unknown and feeling without ground. And because of this, the effects are long lasting and the impacts are intense. It complicates the grieving process in so many ways. This is why it's critical to work with a licensed therapist and a psych nurse if you're considering medications for managing. And don't let anyone tell you if you should or should not use medication. That's a decision you have to come to, and don't let anyone judge you if you make that decision, because they aren't living with what you're living with. And medication can be very helpful when you are dealing with the impacts of such intense stressors and the constant diet of cortisols. You can do some research, because the radical impact on our systems is huge, and our brains, our hormones, everything gets so impacted by this kind of intense stressor and the continued impacts of it. So working with a therapist is critical. And do some research into complicated grief or complex grief. Watch the video on the science of trauma and grief. It'll help you understand a little more about it. And watching the video on the basic info on surviving loss from suicide will give you some more specific tools for surviving this. But just know that you're going through something that is unlike other grief. Especially the way it destroys our mind and our psyche and our spirit. And then surviving that and reconstructing it is a huge endeavor, an almost impossible endeavor, but it is possible. And just don't allow people to diminish your sense of knowing what you need. Avoiding toxic positivity, because that is rampant in our culture right now. And although I think people have good intentions, watch the video on toxic positivity, but I think people have good intentions, but particularly in this area, if they have not experienced loss from suicide, even if they've experienced other loss, if they haven't experienced this loss, they will not understand the degree of impact, the profound and massive impact this has. And so when people say anything that make you feel like you should be doing better or you should be feeling differently, those are people to avoid, because that is toxic positivity. Or that you can just make yourself feel better, or just feel fine, or just focus on the positive. Reject all of that. And you can let those people know that that is toxic positivity, and it's actually harmful when their intention is to be helpful. But it actually is harmful. If you care enough about those people to have that conversation, have them watch the toxic positivity video. And on the website, I have links for articles about it. So educate people, but educate yourself so that you can protect yourself from that. Also know that when you go through traumatic grief, when you go through any grief, but especially when you go through traumatic grief and loss. Beware the grifters. There are so many out there, and they're dangerous because they don't know what they're doing and can cause real long-term harm. So beware people calling themselves shamans, healers. These are people who do not have experience or the proper skill set to support you. This does not mean if you have some spiritual belief, fine, you can have people that support you in that, but don't turn to them to guide you. And just be wary, because I would say the vast majority of people calling themselves healers or shamans are in fact grifters. They are the opposite. So if you are someone who works with people and you use these terms, find new terms. If you're not a Native American person or a person of in any kind of tribe, like actual bloodline designated tribe, you should not be using the word shaman. That is appropriation and just gross. Ew, just don't do it. Healer, I feel the same way about that one. So, but this is why, is because there's so much grifting out there. So watch the video on Beware the Guru, the Shaman, and Healer. People are charging you a lot of money. They are probably a grifter, right? Educate yourself on cults, because like when you're really raw and vulnerable, which losing someone to suicide makes you raw and vulnerable, those are the people who prey on you. Those are the ones who are going to be working the hardest to reach out and try and help get to you, to help you in their way. So be cautious and be very careful about the people you entrust your mind, your heart, your psyche, your entire being to. You need to work with people who are listening to you. So ensure that your doctor is, if you are feeling dismissed by your doctor, find a better doctor. Work with a psych nurse on meds, always. And when it comes to the difference of how intense this kind of grief is, you may want to consider psychedelic assisted therapy. If depression or other PTSD or other issues persist, I have found that to be the most helpful. But again, I can only recommend Spravato. And this is because there are so many grifters that are doing this work with various psychedelics. Lots of people trip sitting or whatever. Be careful. Do your research. Thoroughly check them to make sure that they are actually trained and qualified to be doing these services. And Spravato I like because there are protocols that have to be used for it to be dispensed. It is done by someone in a clinic who monitors your heart rate and your blood pressure throughout, like different points throughout the treatment, and it's covered by insurance for a reason, because it has been shown to be safe, and there are very strict protocols for the people who can do this work with Spravato. So watch that other link, it's in the thing as well. But for people, this is why, like if they might say, well, when I lost my dad, it was really rough, but I didn't still struggle after so long. Well, ignore those people. They know not what they speak. So you use what tools work for you. If you hit a wall with tools, continue to seek more. Always be willing to try a new tool if you feel like something is causing too much disruption in your life or is too difficult. Continue to explore tools, but watch out for the grifters, because they're selling them and they usually cost a lot of money and they are likely to not work for you. So be careful and really be dedicated to honoring the fact that you are going through something that is extremely complicated, extremely intense, and it is absolutely not like other grief. So honor yourself, listen to yourself, and listen to trusted, credible people.